The Completionist, or simply Jirard, was a very beloved gamer and a YouTuber. Now, not so much. But why is that? Well, probably because of his special move that separates him from the rest. Let me elaborate on that. You see, the Completionist completes every game he plays, but there is one game that he played for over a decade and he didn't manage to beat it. And that game was donating money to dementia organizations. Perhaps he didn't want to donate the money until he had enough money to end dementia forever. He is the Completionist after all. This was obviously a poorly constructed metaphor for his charity organization, which goes under the name The Open Hand. It's an organization that raises money for dementia research, and it's something that put Jirard in some hot waters. This video will dive into the allegations of the charity fraud, because I do feel there is much information floating around and I decided to combine them in one video for everyone to understand and get a grasp of this messy situation in which the Completionist landed. Just to state, I am not a legal advisor nor a lawyer, so this video will cut off some of the legal stuff, because if you wanna have a proper deep dive into the paperwork, I would say you go to Mulahar or even Carl Jobs, who did a perfect job going through every detail and provided hours of content. Now, this doesn't mean I will skip the legal part, but I will try to keep it as simple as possible for every casual viewer out there who just wants to know what the heck was going on the whole time. So let's see who this Jirard character is.
Yes!
Why is there a charity in the first place? How is he connected to IndieLand?
But I will not be painted as someone who is a con artist and embezzler. I won't be someone whose name gets tarnished without putting up a fight.
Why are there over $500,000 sitting somewhere?
Saying that we are fraudsters, that what we are doing is illegal and constitutes charity fraud.
And why Jirard is perhaps a scapegoat for his father and his golf tournament, where also some money disappeared apparently.
My dad's like, oh, you're fucked.
Like always, there will be timestamps in the description so you can easily follow the chapters I have prepared for you. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you will enjoy this video. Before we can explain Jirard's situation, we need to understand his backstory, to see where is he coming from, what are his intentions, and why the organization is very important not only for the cause, but also to him and his family personally. Jirard Khalil, otherwise known as the Completionist, was born on January 3, 1988. Upon completing his college degree in theater and film, he started to working at a Best Buy, claiming over and over again he was one of the reasons why the Best Buy he was working in was one of the best stores in the whole country. I wanted to state this comment as it was mentioned in various times on podcasts and streams, but also as we go on I will let you to decide if this was true. His resume stated that he was encouraged by his manager to pursue his YouTube dreams. Now I will show you few clips in which you will see how his Best Buy was like one of the best in the countries.
I worked at Best Buy selling games. And the thing about Best Buy is I got a visceral high selling video games. I earned nothing for selling video games, but I was selling passion. That's the thing that I've got. And I loved it. I loved it so much. And I didn't earn any extra money for it. I'm just saying like, hey, Mario DS is good. You should buy it. Mario Galaxy is sick. I love these games. You should buy them. And my Best Buy store was getting incredibly weirded out because if you looked at the charts of like successes of like what was taking off at the time, you kind of saw that our Best Buy was like #1 in our territory.
But his story changed very quickly, and from one of the best in the whole country, he was working in one of the highest sales numbers in the country.
Because in my store, we had some of the highest sales numbers in the country in regards to video games. Because I was that weird guy that would dumpster dive at GameStop to get statues like that, clean it off, and then bring it into Best Buy. And I'd put it there because I want people excited about buying a game. Yeah. Like,
Now in the next clip I will show how Jirard claims that he was responsible why the Best Buy was one of the biggest Best Buys in the whole country in regards of sales.
And it actually changed my entire approach of how I marketed to sell games in the store. And because of G4, we became the biggest Best Buy in the country to sell video games, because I was basically copying Adam Sessler and Morgan Webb and how they talked about games, and I just took it so personally.
A question you're probably now asking is, why is this important at all? Well, I said that his manager encouraged him to pursue his YouTube dreams. Now, after all, you saw how Jirard was a great salesperson in the Best Buy. Now I will show you one more clip and I will let you decide why is this the first red flag we encountered on this video. And we will of course see many more things that don't add up, but more on that as we go down the rabbit hole.
And so I pitched my idea to my Best Buy manager, and he was like, wow, this is really cool. And that was it. This exact exchange I had with the manager at the time is the reason why I left Best Buy, because every time I kept reinventing ways to sell games, to talk to people, to communicate.
Manager calls me over for the fourth time and goes, what's the problem? Why can't you sell the TV? And I was like, he didn't want a TV. He wanted a cable. He wanted to get out of here. And he goes, he doesn't know what he wants. You tell him what you want. And I heard that and I was like, oh, so that's how we do business here. Like, that's how you see this. Yeah. Like we tell people what they want. And then he just pulled me aside and goes, listen here, you little privileged piece of shit. You listen to me, you do what I tell you. If you keep this up, you'll be working here forever. And that was it. The switch flipped. I turned to the old lady and I was like, ma'am, I'm gonna say something really rude. Excuse me. Turned to the guy and said, F you, I quit, you piece of shit. Let's go. Turned back to the lady and I was like, let's go get your iPod. So I sold her iPod, sent her on her way.
After Jirard finally quit from Best Buy, he launched his channel initially named That One Video Gamer. He had some struggles on the way, like every smaller YouTuber. And he rebranded his channel a few times, but in the end he settled for the name he's known today, and that's the Completionist. Nowadays he's very famous, because Jirard not only reviews games, but also completes them 100%, which is a daunting task. If I'm correct, throughout the Completionist career he completed over 400 games, which is an insane number because I didn't beat 400 games in my life. Now, along being a YouTuber, he was also a member of the gaming collective Normal Boots, a YouTube network featuring creators such as Peanut Butter Gamer and Kadikarus, among few other things. But I wanna take the story a bit back to talk about his past. Because his father was sort of a businessman, he was most of the time away. But his mother was also quite a busy woman. You see, his mother was a business owner at the time. She owned a flower shop. Because her business was blooming, she wanted to expand her business. Later she was involved with, as Jirard describes in the original story aired on May 26, 2017, a very shady guy with whom she partnered to do business. To skip this story a bit into the future, one day after his father was back from a business trip, his mother suddenly decided to divorce him without any proper reason. And here comes the kicker. He stated calm, you can divorce me and take everything you want as long as you go with me to the doctor. She went to the doctor and at the age of 14, Jirard and his 4 brothers and sisters discovered that his mother suffered from frontotemporal dementia, basically Alzheimer's. Now the age when he discovered that his mother was sick changed throughout the years, so it started with 14, 15, even 10. Again, just to see the inconsistencies in his storytelling, I will show you a few clips of that.
A cause very close, near, and dear to my heart. When I was 10 years old, my mom got diagnosed with dementia.
For those of you guys who don't know, when I was about 10 years old, I found out that my mom had dementia. And it took almost 2.5 years from there. I was 14 years old. It was
when I was 15 when she was officially diagnosed. It took 5 years to get her diagnosed.
She was officially diagnosed with FTD 4 years later when I was 14.
We barely started the video and we have already 2 red flags in his storytelling. But to continue on his story with his mother, this was obviously a very stressful time for the family because they needed to care for her, which is definitely a hard task for every family out there. It wasn't until 2013 that she passed away from malnutrition. In the end, she was unable to eat, speak, or do anything, as Jirard stated. The full story is in my description if you want to go through all the details about his early life. There are a few quite red flags going on about his mother, but I will uncover them as we go on. Mostly, how he stated that she was one of the longest fighting patients from frontotemporal dementia, which was only stated once and never again. As you seeing from the screenshot I presented you, the life expectancy is something between 7 and 13 years, but he claims that she was only given 6 months and then she pushed the boundaries of science as we know it. Again, it feels like Jirard loves to blow up his stories just a bit.
My mom was a strong as hell woman, and she went down fighting every single step of the way. And more importantly, she is the longest lasting survivor to date with someone who's been diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia. They gave her 6 months. She said, screw you, I'm going to live 15 years. She pushed the boundaries of what science knew and what people knew about this illness.
Because of this tragic event, the Open Hand Foundation was founded by Charles Khalil in support of his wife. 2003 marks also the first annual Convenience Cup Challenge golf tournament. The foundation continues to operate in her honor and raises money to support research for a cure against dementia. After losing his mother to dementia in 2013, Jirard took the initiative to establish the yearly live-stream charity event IndieLand through the Open Hand Foundation. But not only that, but also, like I said, the Convenience Golf Club Challenge was also part of the charity. IndieLand is an event that features a diverse range of indie games and developers. They are doing streams, interviews, behind the scenes, and many other stuff, all aimed at generating funds for dementia research. IndieLand was definitely such a nice way to unite small developers and unite them so they could show their passion projects to the world. IndieLand was also a success and succeeded in raising money. As we saw in the article from 29th November 2021, where on the Game Daily Bit states IndieLand 2021 raises more than $100,000 for dementia research. If we can take a look at another website, we can see the site Dual Shockers, which state the exact same thing. IndieLand charity stream raises over $80,000. Again, IndieLand was sponsored by also big companies in the gaming realm like Crosshair and G Fuel. Everything seemed perfect, but a video was published on 13 November 2023 which revealed something a bit shocking. Mudahar combined forces with a YouTuber called Carl Jobs to dig into this charity, and what I found out was quite interesting.
And you put in the EIN number in this field and hit the search button. And that takes you to the Open Hand Foundation. You open that one up right here and you can see a lot of their letters too. For instance, this determination letter that shows that they've been active since 2014. And again, this is their this is basically them showing when they were active from, okay? So they've got their tax forms, their 990 PFs, which basically shows the money going in and hopefully the money going out. So these are all public records and you can look them up for yourself right now. And
Mudahar and Carl dived into the tax filings, which are public records and can be also accessed by anyone. After looking at the records from 2014 to 2022, they showed us how much money was raised from the time they started. Mudahar shows us, for example, in 2014 there was raised over $33,000 and how the expenses of the charity were $0. But they also showed us how the money that was raised wasn't donated and wasn't sent to other charities or directly to the dementia research program. This pattern continues, as in 2015 for example, they would raise over $60,000 with the quite same result. The money was gathered, but at the end of the year the money was still in their account. This pattern continues throughout the tax filing reports. At the end, it resulted in $655,520 gathered, which is a huge amount of money that is basically wasting away in a bank account. This was very alarming, considering how many people are actually giving their hard-earned money for a good cause. Now, IndieLand didn't hide the fact how much money was raised. They even stated on their side that there were over $600,000 raised for the charity. And I'm quoting now, over the past 6 years, IndieLand has raised over $600,000 and showcased over 200 unique indies, yada yada yada. You get the point.
To answer your question, Carl, I don't have an answer. I think that's my I have personally donated to AFTD and Alzheimer's Association over the years, and that's where, again, I assumed the money was going there to support them as we were talking negotiations about working with them. I don't really have a true answer for that, and that's on me completely, and I will own up to that. But again, it doesn't matter. You guys are going to say what you're going to say, and I can't stop it. But the important thing is that all the money is still in the account. None of it's spent erroneously. It's all above board. Like it's not hiding in a Cayman account or anything like that. And that's the thing about 501c's is that, like, if I did any of that, the minute I did any malpractice of that nature, literally the government would be like, hey, we're coming after you. And that's, at least legally speaking, everything's above board. And I understand that the question isn't so much legality and so much more about morality and, me advertising this event and showing people sponsors and all that stuff.
Carl and Mudahar, before exposing this to the public, decided to call Jirard and have a talk with him so he could explain the things they found. And in my opinion, this was the best move to do in their case, to solve this somewhat of a problem.
I guess what I'm asking you guys is, what do you want me to do as soon as possible? If it's like, hey, Jirard, we want you to shut up and take the L so we can make content, that's fine. If that's what you guys think is the way to go, to call it a scam, sure. But I'm not trying to scam anyone. I would never try and scam in honor of my mom.
We also need to know what is the definition of a charity fraud. So let's go through this together, shall we? Charity fraud is a type of a fraud that occurs when charitable organizations that solicit funds from the public for philanthropic goals, such as seeking cures for diseases or aiding the families of slain police officers, solicit donations in a depictive manner, or use the money they collected for purposes not intended by the donors. Charities are subject to the kinds of fraud that can also plague business organizations, such as embezzlement and misappropriation of the funds by the executives. So, let's see how Jirard presented his organizations to the public.
Helping victims who not only have dementia, but the families of those around them. It's obviously a very important cause. I can talk today, near and dear to my heart. I was 10 years old when my mom got dementia, and it's been a journey for me and my family. And so this cause is obviously very personal, and that's why we're here today. Bits, donations, subs, buy the shirt, buy the coin, buy indie games, all that stuff. All of it is going to the benefit of helping others for this charity.
We are raising money for dementia research and treatment, more specifically helping families and those loved ones who've been affected by early onset dementia and who are learning how their lives are going to be changing forever, what tools and what necessities they're going to need as they go forward with taking care of their loved ones. For dementia research, we're trying to help those who are affected by Alzheimer's, all types of dementia and beyond, specifically families who have just found out that a loved one has dementia, and the next steps that are taken to help them transition from the shock of it all to the next steps of getting in-house care and so much dementia more. Working with organizations like USF, FTD Association of America, Alzheimer's Association of America, and so many more.
I wanted to show you all of these clips because of a very specific reason. Please bear in mind all the organizations where Jirard said that the money is going and with whom they partnered with. After seeing this clip, Anyone would thought that the money collected would directly go to the organizations and obviously the research. But this was not the case. But there also needs to be a reason why the money was never donated to the research, and Jirard explains this and his fears in the call with Carl and Mudahar.
And most of the conversations we had from some of the bigger orgs like Alzheimer's, they were like, look, if you're not going to pay more than 6 figures or 6+ figures of what they asked for, then you're just going to waste it. So the goal on the back end for my family that I've been told is like, we're just going to raise a bunch of money and then give it to one org and like make a bigger impact rather than just giving smaller donations that don't move the needle.
I literally am about to like donate all this money today and prior to that, earlier this week and the week before, and I've just been sitting here crippled trying to figure out the best way to handle this, because I felt like if I donated the money the minute you guys emailed me, it'd be a situation of, well, he's trying to hide it and he's admitting guilt by doing that. And I never felt that way, but I understand completely that you guys could easily argue that, and it would just make me look more like a scumbag. And, I just wanted, I want to do right by you guys and what you think. When you guys got the email and I said, please tell us about benefactors, that was genuine, because I haven't found a benefactor that I'm completely happy with. And I want to make sure that this money goes to a good cause in honor of my mom, and I'm upset that the conversations I've had haven't gone the way that I wanted. And I'm willing at this point to just donate the money to whoever. I want it to go in the right spot. I don't want it to go to some doctor's salary or some expense bill for a massive organization that it's not going to do anything for.
Jirard simply feared that the money was going to somebody's salary, but at the end of the day, these are also costs that need to be so that the charity can operate. After all, who are the people who are working on the research when not the doctors? The situation feels very heated, especially after we could see that from 2015 that the organization did have some expenses, but the expenses weren't categorized, and this would continue through the tax filings. And because I'm doing my taxes alone, I know that the federal government, or IRS in USA, is quite aggressive in finding out where the money was spent, and just writing them off as expenses isn't enough. Expenses need to be categorized, for example adding things like travel costs, perhaps insurances, accounting, and so on. This was obviously not done professionally, or it was purposely done in this way to hide something. The answer is here quite simple. Even if the money was spent on some expenses, there are still a lot of money left to donate, and Jirard didn't do anything. The biggest problem was the presentation of the charity didn't seem like the money would be gathered over the years, but rather as the money goes in, it will be just proceed to the research team and the other organizations. On the Open Hand Foundation site, it even states that your gift will contribute to vital research for a cure for this devastating disease.
I knew it was sitting there at a certain point, and that's what made me proactively go about it. Like,
do you know when that point was?
I was made aware in 2021 when the money hadn't moved yet. Okay. And that's what made me go, that's fucking cool. And that's when I got personally involved to move it. And
did anyone
2021 last year, 2022.
Yeah, did anyone tell you that the money was going somewhere before then? Were you being misled?
No. No one told me anything. I assumed that it was all going to a charity, and I assumed it correctly.
And as we looked at a few clips from Jirard, from everything it seems like the money was directly going to the research and not be collected for over 10 years. So I wanna look back here and show you all the clips in which Jirard claimed he worked with many different organizations. As you can see, that is somewhat of a lie. As we saw in the previous clip, we can clearly see that Jirard was completely aware that the money was sitting in a bank account. He then started to move the money. This can be considered as charity fraud, as they were misleading the people who were donating the money. Now again, I don't want to be a smartass here in any way, but if Jirard managed to organize more IndieLand events in the meantime, why he didn't find any time to donate the money? If you're a charity organization and you want to donate money to a good cause, I don't think you would receive counter blows from the organizations on why the money can't be donated. Also, I want to mention that everybody involved from the higher ups are his family members, as seen on this screenshot. Now you can also see that they weren't taking any money from the charity, as they did clock hours in, but they didn't get a paycheck, so to say. Again, the problem was that the money wasn't heading directly to a bigger organization, but in Jirard's case, they made a public charity under the section 501c3. To elaborate on that, section 501c3 is the portion of the US Internal Revenue Code that allows for federal taxes exemption of non-profit organizations that meet the code's requirement. These non-profits may be considered public charities, private funds, or private operating funds.
All the money goes to the Open Hand Foundation, an organization that we started in honor of my mom, and all that money goes to dementia research. We don't touch any of it. We just work with the people who do need the money, and we help them do their thing.
In this video, he tells us that the money made through the donation wasn't used for anything else. Yet in this next clip, we hear something a bit different.
I guess on that topic, I mean, yeah. So, but Open Hand was paying expenses on behalf of IndieLand, correct?
Sorry, what was that?
So IndieLand is a separate thing from Open Hand, but
Correct.
were you saying that Open Hand was paying expenses for IndieLand though?
Only some years, and no more than a couple $1,000s, depending on the year. If it was too much money, just to make it right, because you're not supposed to really do that especially when you have no operating expenses.
Mhm.
I'd only reimburse myself, and I did it appropriately through the Open Hand when applicable, but not every year, and no more than a couple $1,000s maximum.
Yeah.
But
This video paints us a very different picture from the previous video. The money is spent to cover some expenses from IndieLand. Again, in my eyes, this wouldn't be a problem, but it would be nice that Jirard actually told us that. Now, in the next clip, I will show you with which foundations he partnered with.
Raising money for dementia research in honor of my late mom, trying to help folks who've been impacted by dementia, working with organizations like USF, FTD Association of America, Alzheimer's Association of America, and so many more.
Now you heard about his partners, but how can you partner with somebody when there is no evidence that you were in contact with this organization? The main objective of running a charity is to fight for a good cause and contribute it in any way possible. People donating whatever amount they can afford, be it $5 or more, is totally unimportant. The important thing is that every penny spent is spent on a noble cause.
Brother and I started a foundation called the Open Hand Foundation that raises money for dementia research and treatment for organizations all over the world. We're soon going to be partnering up with the Alzheimer's Association, currently working with the University of San Francisco, and we're kind of one of their main funding support partners going into all of this.
Mudahar and Carl confronted Jirard and told him about the situation and about that they knew that the money was in fact just sitting and lying there and not helping anyone, especially dementia patients. The question, why was there any investigation to begin with? Well, according to Mudahar's video, Carl Jobst was tipped off by an anonymous source about this, and they two team up like a cop duo to try to investigate this. The problem was that many fans were shocked, but there were also fans defending Jirard. Some even blamed that IndieLand could be cancelled because of them. Also, many people misinterpreted their videos, even stating, why is this public in the first place and this is all unnecessary drama. First of all, misleading people and how the charity's money is spent or is not spent in this case can be considered as charity fraud as we established. Secondly, tax reports are public to such organizations, so you can even go to their site and see it for yourself. I try to not forget to put a link down below. And third, is this unnecessary drama? Well, many YouTubers and people in general tweeted about this, that this was only drama and they were angry at Mudahar and Carl because they researched this. Well, this is for a good cause, and what is said that this amount of money sitting somewhere and even losing value over time because of inflation. And then Jirard is claiming to work with different organizations, which isn't true, obviously, Also, a very important thing is that Jirard is listed, as you can see on this founding paper, he is listed as a marketing person, but also he is evaluating charities to donate to and considering fundraising activities. Because of this, he needs to have some knowledge of his taxes, perhaps not every month, but at least once a year when you're doing your taxes. And here for a fact we can see how many hours Jirard working on a weekly basis. We can again look at this Skill Up podcast Friends per second, where we can hear Jirard talking once again about all the organizations they worked with.
Jirard specifically, I know you talked about it on the podcast a little bit last year, but like, what's the elevator pitch for what exactly it is?
Sure. So IndieLand started about 6 years ago. My buddy Vernon had a show called Scare to Care, which was like a yearly charity show he would do for Camp Cassim, and it was basically just bringing a bunch of content creators together to play scary games. And eventually he stopped making that show after several years, and my producer Michael was like, hey, we like that, I used to make that show was really fun, we should do our own version of that every year and kind of make it a cool celebration of games and raise money for a charity. And so he was like, I wish we had a charity that we could donate to. And I was like, oh, I run my own charity called the Open Hand Foundation, and all the money that we aggregate, I started it when I was a young boy with my dad in honor of my mom who had dementia. And so we just every year we try and raise as much money as possible, and then we go work with Alzheimer's Association of America, University of San Francisco, Association for FTD, which is what my mom had, FTD. So we've like worked with big and small organizations across the board. And he was like, it'd be really cool if we did a show all about raising money for people who are making huge headways in dementia research and prevention and all that stuff. And I said, yeah, I'd love to. We have the organization to do it. We just, need to come up with a theme. And so we kind of looked at the gaming space and said, hey, like, what can I do that like can make an impact on multiple fronts? And so that's when he said, hey, well, what if we made it a strictly indie game show where we just feature indie games by small teams, from publishers who are just trying to get eyeballs in front of their games. And so that's kind of where IndieLand came from. We in the beginning, we themed it as like,
I literally am about to like donate all this money today. And prior to that, earlier this week and the week before, and I've just been sitting here crippled trying to figure out the best way to handle this, because I felt like if I donated the money the minute you guys emailed me, it'd be a situation of, well, he's trying to hide it and he's admitting guilt by doing that. And right. I never felt that way, but I understand completely that you guys could easily argue that, and it would just make me look more like a scumbag. And, I just wanted, I want to do right by you guys and what you think. When you guys got the email and I said, please tell us about benefactors, that was genuine, because I haven't found a benefactor that I'm completely happy with, and I want to make sure that this money goes to a good cause in honor of my mom, and I'm upset that the conversations I've had haven't gone the way that I wanted. And I'm willing at this point to just donate the money to whoever. I want it to go in the right spot.
Listening once more to the call between Carl Modahar and Jirard, he was basically asking them where he should donate the money. Like we saw in my 2-hour Mama Max video, where we looked at many allegations and accusations, they aren't something that should be thrown around. That's why so many people started to talk about this. And it's no wonder that people start to accuse him of fraud, which was the situation in this case. Now, if you remember, at the beginning of the video we mentioned another part of the charity, and that's the PBD Golf Challenge. If you go to the Open Hand Foundation, this is currently the only event donating to the charity. It's an event where companies could pay to have their banners and logos presented on the charity event. Some of the names include Pepsi, Monster, a bottling company for Coca-Cola, and a few more. The golf tournament had different tiers where your corporate logo would be displayed on the sponsor board, with obviously different prizes. As of making this video, the prizes are gone from the site. So, alongside IndieLand, this golf course challenge cup has also raised money as well. Also, something quite interesting is that on their side they claim to be sponsored by Monster Energy since 1998, even though Monster Energy was introduced in 2002. So is this a type failure? I don't know honestly, but I just wanted to tell you about this.
I'm disappointed that I was not more straightforward regarding the Foundation's timeline for making donations, and that I made statements potentially implying donations were made when they had not yet been. It took too long for clear action to occur, and I apologize for all of this. But such inaction was not done for any selfish or malicious reasons. Most importantly, I want to apologize to anyone who ever donated over the years who felt they were wronged or led astray by any of this.
Because of the allegations, the Completionist decided to make a respawn video posted on 9th December 2023. It is a very interesting video, so to say, where Jirard tries to explain to the public what happened and why was there a radio silence. But the thing he said in the video created a few more questions. Jirard stated that he was accused of fraud and charity embezzlement, which isn't the case according to him. The definition of embezzlement is theft or misappropriation of funds placed in one trust or belongings to one employer. This is here clearly the case, as Jirard handled the money poorly and didn't donate it until he was pressured. Again, he wanted to donate a big chunk of the money, but this doesn't make the fact right that he was actually telling people that he was working with different institutions over and over again. Also, the evidence he provided in the description of the video was the autopsy of his mother, a link that confirms the money of the charity donation, and a few more. What he fails to do is to provide any type of communication of the organizations which he had contact of the last previous years, as he was stating in his streams.
Saying that we are fraudsters, that what we are doing is illegal and constitutes charity fraud, that we are using my dead mother's name to potentially embezzle money and steal is categorically false.
The problem was that Jirard admitted to this just a few moments later in the same video.
Income from Twitch subscriptions and bits, along with merchandise, have offset some of the production costs. So to say the money is missing is simply wrong.
He clearly stated with which organizations he was working in, and that they are not touching the money. Some would assume that this means that the money would not be used for the expenses of IndieLand. But time and time again, Jirard stated the money goes directly for dementia research, but somehow this wasn't the case, at least for the last 10 years. So this can be considered as lying and deceiving people and evil embezzlement in this case. Again, let me know your thoughts.
You guys don't know, we had a show last year, and it went great, but it was very expensive, and TOBG covered the cost of it, but we have kind of a rule of like, we want to make sure that like, as we do charity events, that we're not costing the charity organization or really anyone outside of our awesome sponsors. The guys at FlyQuest who've been so supportive, we want to make sure that the money that we do raise actually goes to charity and is spent properly. And so, surprise, surprise, hosting a convention-like event is very expensive.
Also, I can show you an email exchange between Carl Jobst and Jirard's brother revealed that the charity did not donate the money because they couldn't find any suitable organization to donate with. But also Jirard stated the same thing we heard in the phone call. The question is, if Mudahar and Carl didn't dive into this situation, would the money still be in the account? Well, probably.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So as of now, the money, as far as your understanding, that $660,000 roughly, is still sitting in your that charity account, waiting for a benefactor at the right time.
I mean, as of this week, we've been having conversations about moving it as early as today or tomorrow, just because the pressure I got from you guys, if I'm being quite honest. Not that I was trying to save face, but like, this is a private fight that I've been dealing with for months with my family, and I even told my family, hey, this is the last IndieLand I'm ever going to do, because this is the 10th year anniversary of my mom's passing, and when I kind of found all this information out, I was very unhappy with what things were going, and
this part of the phone call can confirm that he started to move the money only because he was pressured to it. But I feel like Jirard wanted to blame Carl and Mudahar because he won't do things like this in the future because his passion is gone. but perhaps I'm misinterpreting the call. Also, a fact I don't know if I want to mention, but some people also think that Jirard is hiding behind his dead mother to use her for pity and a shield for criticism. But I don't want to take any side of this. This is something I want to hear you talk about in the comment sections. His response video ends with an attack which is basically aimed at Carl or Mudahar, in which he wants to take legal actions because they are not legal or financial professionals and because they tainted his name. Again, this comes from someone who was a few times at least in this video called red-handed lying. As of December 4th, 2023, the money was finally donated. The AFTD, the nation's leading non-profit organization helping families affected by frontotemporal degradation, today announced that it has received $600,000 gift from the Open Hand Foundation, which is committed to finding a cure for FTD. Received on Wednesday, November 29th, this gift will trigger matching funds for a drug discovery initiative, resulting in $200,000 in additional support for the FTD research. This generous charitable donation will help to accelerate the AFTD efforts in research and drug discovery. And a quote from the father of Jirard: "This contribution is tribute to the memory of my wife, Karen Reed Khalil, who battled frontotemporal degradation for over 14 years," said Charles Khalil, founder of the Open Hand Foundation. "We are honored to preserve her legacy by supporting continued research on her devastating disease. The Open Hand Foundation is committed to making a meaningful impact, and we believe this donation will contribute significantly to the fight against FTD." So this all has a good ending. The money was spent, and this is the most important thing, even if there are over $50,000 gone missing, apparently. Again, seeing $600,000 being donated is also a huge thing, and everybody should be happy because of this. But there is more to this. There is a quite small problem which is still going on as far as my knowledge goes. If we take a look at 2022, IndieLand raised over $100,000, which was stated by Michael Barriete, and I'm sorry if I butchered the name. He was the lead director of IndieLand. He even donated $25,000 to the charity. But in 2022, there was also a PBD golf club which hosted again various sponsors. Now, if IndieLand raised only $100,000 and Michael donated $25,000, those two numbers added up would be $125,000. But they declared on the tax reports $117,247. Well, okay, maybe there were some expenses, but the question is, where is the money from the PVD Golf Club? Or perhaps the club did manage to raise any single dime? As far as my research goes, there was a cup because I could find various photos with date attached. It was held on May 12, 2022, and there are even expenses filled for over $5,000, and we already talked about how various sponsors need to pay a certain amount of money to be on the banner, which are also separated in different tiers. This is a thing that Jirard didn't mention in the response video at all, and he didn't provide anything about how the money was spent. Listen to this interesting clip from a guy who is apparently a certified accountant.
We believe we're done with selfish intent. They have directly jeopardized the safety of me, my staff, and my family, and that is not okay. I want to reiterate and specifically address that both the foundation and I have been accused of forgery, embezzlement, and charity fraud. The allegations imply the foundation forged tax returns because they weren't physical signatures on them when we e-filed them, or that we altered numbers to hide income or expenses.
That holds weight though, that part. The underreporting part is there, like, the math didn't math. That was proven. The math did not math for the prior years. I'm not talking about this year, because this year isn't finished. The return isn't filed yet for 23, because 23 is not over. We're talking about prior years. The math for prior years doesn't math based on reasonable assumptions made by calculating the price per admission for the golf tournament with related, like they showed the banner, and it was like the diamond level supporters or whatever, which we know cost X amount of dollars. There were this many of them, and like A fourth grader could have done the math and realized there's money missing. So, yes, you haven't proven anything about the years where it can be proven with really, really solid, still I say proven, there's very reasonable assumptions based on the information available.
Now comes a part where I really don't want to dive too deep in, because I wouldn't consider it too relevant to the Jirard story, but I will try to keep it somewhat compact here. One YouTuber who is also a lawyer decided to take Jirard's side. The YouTuber was called Mooney. His channel goes under the name The Moon Channel, and it is a 100,000 sub channel, who wanted to dissect the situation and made a video called Jobs with the Completionist, where he would go through all the things presented in recent times. The problem was, first of all, he deleted the video after Jobs made a hour-and-a-half video which was going through his video and pointing out all the things in which he was wrong. Well, like I said, this is still relevant to Jirard, but also not directly. I will end this section with a community post on YouTube from Mooney, so you can get the scope of this. My goal with the Moon channel has always been to make wholesome, thoughtful content, and this situation has been a real wake-up call for me. I strayed from the objective, made something I didn't invest enough time or diligence into, and I reaped what I sowed. I appreciate those of you who reached out civilly to offer your thoughts and critics. For those viewers, subscribers and patrons who I am dishonored through my conduct, I sincerely apologize. So you know why I didn't want to dive into this too much. If you're interested in this, again, there is an hour-and-a-half video from Carl Jobs going to every detail that Moon pointed out against Jobs and Mudahar. So what are the consequences to Jirard because of this drama? First of all, a dementia charity forgetting about donations is the most ironic thing ever. Well, Jirard in the end donated the money and he continues to make videos. He made a few videos after this somewhat drama. The recent videos are definitely doing poorly comparing it with the videos from like a half a year ago or 1 year ago. There are still fans defending Jirard despite the recent events, but there are also many people who feel betrayed by a once very beloved YouTuber, and rightfully so. I showed you a few times on this video how Jirard was straight up lying and also tried to keep it cool in the response video and even taking a very aggressive approach and threatening with legal actions. I mean, why the aggressive approach? Because he was pressured to donate the money he collected from the fans who thought that the money would be directly handed to other charities. This doesn't make any sense. I said, like in the last video, I don't want to take any side here, just to point things out and show you guys what happened. But I would be lying if I said I was not a fan of Jirard and his channel. I would enjoy his humor, but also his dedication and the quality of his videos. Did the charity put his whole career in danger? Yes, definitely. But after further analysis, there are so many instances that Jirard's channel was doing poorly according to him. In hindsight, he has been complaining about his YouTube channel for the last 3 or 4 years, how he has many mouths to feed, because he's got like 10 people working for him, and that he's like earning 2 cents per hour. I mean, this all sounds like a bunch of... I mean, we all see how many views he got, how many subscribers he's got, and we also can see how many people were helping him through his Patreon channel. I think if Jirard wants to be liked by the public once again, he has a rocky road ahead. Perhaps I'm mistaken. Again, my opinion is here. Let me know yours down below. At the end of the day, the money was donated, even if it was only donated because Mudahar and Carl pressured him to donate it. And I hope that Jirard will never again open a charity foundation because of this. He's definitely showed us that he is someone who is not to be trusted with, but maybe he make it up in some other way. Let's see. He tainted his image immensely with this. Also, some people speculate that his dad is behind all of this and he is the one who makes all the big moves. And that's the reason why Jirard was so frightened in the call with Mudahar and Carl, but yet again so aggressive in the response video. Again, his father is extremely rich. Even Jirard stated he bought him a new car and crushed it because apparently Jirard wanted to joke with him or I don't know, but stating things like this to an average guy, I mean, just imagine receiving a new car as a gift. I mean, that's an immensely financial help. And just to destroy it because he didn't get a joke and wanted to make it a point, I mean, that shows us a picture of how wealthy Jirard's dad is. And Jirard also, because that's his family again. Again, I want to stop it here. My ramble was too long. Also, I want to inform you, as of making this video, there is also a new golf tournament charity in the announcement for this year. What will happen with that part of the story? Sadly, I don't know. But what do I know is that I'm very grateful if you're still watching. I also want to hear your opinion on this situation. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing or join my Patreon. It would be a huge help. Also, I want to say a huge thanks to my Patreon who are supporting this channel, and I see you in the next one. Bye.